Welcome everyone to our clinic this evening on staying injury free. All right, I'm really thrilled to see you all here tonight and to see such a great showing for such a wonderful topic and a great presenter, my friend Joe Blunt, who is going to kick off our series on staying injury free and talk to us about several issues. I'm not going to waste time introducing Joe, other than to say that I've known Joe for 15 or 16 years probably. Yeah, we've been riding bikes together, various capacities and group rides and so forth. So that's that. I'm just going to throw it over to Joe.
Thank you.
Join us, Joe.
So Jackie said, be sure, I've got to be centered and stuff. Jackie said, how do you want yourself introduced? So yeah, I just joke. And, but yeah, I'm a physical therapist, athlete trainer, and a cyclist. The other thing I'll tell you this too, I'm also a feminist. Okay? I was really particularly thrilled. No, I can tell you, and I've done this. I've got stories. I mean, when you get as old as I am, and you've been around as many years, I've been a physical therapist for 48 years. So, and you've done that, been there, done everything, done the Olympics, Pan Am Games, U.S. World University Games. I mean, my experience is all of it doesn't matter because the patient that in front of me is the one that's most important. But I've been in some glass ceiling type situations, and my explanation of this, I have children, I have grandchildren, I have 7 grandchildren. My explanation is if a man who has a daughter is not a feminist, they have neither heart nor brain. Okay? Because my daughter, you know, she was raised, she could be anything she wanted to be. She could not be, I discouraged her. I'm sorry for those in the room. I said, I don't want you to be a secretary or a nurse, but you can be anything you want. My son could be a nurse. I have nothing against nursing. But I said, so she's an MD.
I have a room full of nurses.
Yeah, I know. So, yeah.
Sensitive.
So again, what I didn't want was her to be stereotyped. So I was thrilled. I know Jackie has been the driving force for the women's series. We've crossed paths on the road a few times. I can remember one time. And Jackie and I talked about the one thing that I remember very distinctly about my relationship with Jackie, and this means a lot to me as a rider. And we'll get back to my riding a little bit in a minute. But we were on the road from the Y up to Tremont, and I came along and I put my hand in Jackie's back and just boosting her along a little bit. And she said that we averaged up that road 19 plus, and I was stronger back then than I am now. But you know, she startled and she looked at me and she looked and she's, oh, it's you. It's just Joe. But the point being, she said, there's not but 2 people in the world that I will let do that. You and Steve Bright. And if you know Steve turns 72 tomorrow and is still one of the strongest riders around and still one of the greatest guys to ride with you ever want to ride with. And Steve and I figured up one time that he and I on the road bikes had ridden in the neighborhood of 200,000 miles together over decades of riding. Which is, I don't know how many times across the country that would be, but I got out of the road biking. I started as a mountain biker. Well, back in college, my transportation in Memphis was a bicycle, and was more mountain biking. My daughter, when she was in college, got me into road biking, got serious about that. One of the things I also had the privilege of doing, Sam Bell at Blackberry Farm recruited me to be the guest rider and medical director for the Tour de Smokies rides, and so we've been doing that for 17 years, I think. And then when they opened Blackberry Mountain, I still work as a guide. Hi, come on in. All the Baptists are in this. Nobody's in the front row, although Robin's a Presbyterian, but she said that's why I was able to get a beer, I think. Blackberry Mountain has 19 miles of just really incredible single track, and so I guide mountain bike rides on weekends. And yes, I still work. You can start doing the math here in a minute and try and figure out how many birthday candles I have. But gravel bike. Oh, I remember some old country guy was asked, said, what kind of music do you like? And he said, both kinds of music, country and western. Well, I love my road bike, I love my mountain bike, I love my gravel bike. I have all three. They all came from here. Thank you, Cycology. They're not paying me anything to say that, but they know me well. I've been a regular customer and send people here, so I love the bike. I love what bike can do for us. In the last few months, I've picked up the road bike a little bit more, but I've never been off the bike. Every one of my grandkids got a Trek bike out of here when they got off their training wheels, and so anyway, it's just such an incredible activity to participate in. It's so healthy, but. So one of the things, so anyway, the first note, I'll look back, first note Jackie asked me to speak was, she said, speak on the injuries. So I'm going to be a little bit of a purist about that discussion. The injuries that you incur on a bicycle are when you wreck. So you want to prevent injuries, don't wreck. Now, there are two kinds of bikers, those who have wrecked and those who haven't wrecked yet, okay? But if you're on a bike enough, I mean, especially on a mountain bike, if you don't wreck on the mountain bike, you're not trying. I don't know that I've ever wrecked on my gravel bike. Doesn't sound like fun. But, you know, I've had road bike rides and you're gonna wreck. We'll talk a little bit about those, but really whenever we're talking about bike problems, we're really talking about the manifestation, the physical manifestation of what can happen from spending a lot of time on a bicycle. Now, I will tell you, I'm going to ask you, who does strength training? Who goes to the weight room? Okay, I'm going to call you out a little bit. Okay, a little bit. Okay. I will tell you this. It is more important for you to be in a weight room on a regular basis than it is pretty much anybody. I mean, the teenage athlete, sure, but everybody and y'all are young. When I'm in the room, everybody's young, okay? But you guys are young. It is important. And I preached a sermon I did a piece, last Friday we did our second annual coaches conference, and I did a piece on the female athletes, and I'll come back to that just a little bit. But we're preaching impact weight-bearing strength training exercises at the young age. I'd never, at one point in time, I could tell you, the other thing I do, if nobody reads paper anymore, but I'm almost at 42 years of writing a weekly column for the Daily Times. Every week. If there's any English teachers, I was in the room, I was never any English teacher's favorite student. But for 42 years, I've written an 900 word essay started out, they called it the Jock Doc, and it was about sports medicine, but really it's all about living healthy and the things that you can do. So you can still see it. You can go online to dailytimes.com, look under columnist, Joe Black. I post it on Facebook, and I don't do Facebook much, but it goes there anyway, just so people have access to it. But years ago, I wrote, and it's sort of true anymore, that I never had the father or mother of a 12-year-old girl ask me if it was okay that they could start strength training, lifting weights. But I'd had hundreds of 10-year-old boys, moms and dads, mostly dads, ask, is it okay for my 10-year-old boy to start lifting weights? Well, the answer is probably not. But the 12-year-old girl needs to be lifting weights. They're mature, they're reaching maturity before then, and they're laying down that bone density. And that's your problem. Okay, that's the problem with bikers. Do you know what the number one incidence of male osteoporosis is in this country today? Bike riders.
Oh, wow.
Men bike riders, the highest incidence among osteoporosis among men is for those that ride bikes. People who ride bikes tend to do very little else. So in any talk about injuries, we got to talk about that. And you need to be in the weight room 2 to 3 times a week. period. No exceptions, okay? It needs to be impact exercises. You need to be strength training. You need to be moving weights, because that compressive force of either impact from running or the compressive force from doing a kettlebell swing builds bone density in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Now, I preached a sermon early on, and that's part of what I was talking about when I addressed the female athlete at the coaches conference, is that you want your girls to be physically active. The other thing that I talk about, and of course I get my bailiwick sports, obviously, and I do a lot of work internationally and nationally on ACL prevention. We can't prevent ACLs, and girls have 9 to 1 more ACL tears than guys. And I've got a couple of reasons for that, and I know that's not why you're here, but the emphasis on encouraging people to bike ride, and we'll get back to what all y'all can do, although there's really just sort of basic core 3 that I'll talk about. I'm gonna make it pretty simple. But when I ran the Little League program, Maryville Little League, we had trouble getting enough teams for 6 T-ball girls teams, and yet we had 24 boys. So it was okay for our little boys to play sports, but it doesn't, the culture that we have in America today, it isn't okay for our little girls. It's okay for our little girls not to be physically active. You see what I'm saying? I think that's the culture, and I have preached against that. I mean, if you read my column for the last 42 years, that's a common theme in there perpetually. Encourage your little girls to be physically active. And again, that's the thing any parent can do. That's the thing that you can do. So anyway, the 3 core things. I'm going to break down the things that I see professionally that can happen as far as the physical. I'm not going to call it injuries. Again, injuries come from wrecks. One of the problems with the bicycle is you're in a static, fixed position doing a highly repetitive motion. And you're going to hear me talk. Eddie should be here. Eddie Sloan. If you don't have a bike fit, you should have a bike fit. Okay? Eddie's really good. I know some of the best bike fitters in the country, and Eddie's right there with them. Eddie used to come up and do bike fits at Blackberry, and again, we get some incredible bike riders and pros at Blackberry, and Eddie's right there with any of them. But the thing, so we'll get back to some of the manifestations of that, but again, it's highly repetitive. So little things, little biomechanical changes, cleat position, it's huge. Everybody knows, they look at me, I use one seat. Ernie, how's it pronounced? Is it physic? How's the correct pronunciation?
Physique.
Huh? Physique. I have a physique seat on everything I ride. I have a spin bike at my clinic. I have a stationary bike it's sat on the floor here forever. I don't remember the brand name on it. It's got a watts meter on it, so that's in my basement. And then my wife will tell you there are way too many bicycles in our garage. Like, she gets the garage, half the garage, and then there's bicycles. And even I actually brought Ernie 3, and he's gotten rid of 3 of them. And it was, one of them is up there for sale. If anybody needs a road bike, really great Bianchi road bike, carbon titanium. I ride the physique seat. I have the same seat on everything, because once you, and I'll tell you, I don't think that there's one seat that's good for everybody. The worst person, and I'll pick on Steve Bright, because like I said, great friends, see him all the time. We've ridden literally 200,000 miles plus together. He was changing seats one time, and I think he went through 24 seats out of here. He tried everything, and finally got comfortable with one. So everybody is different. And I'll not speak on behalf of the shop, because I don't work for the shop, but I think if your seat is important. Again, you've got to think about all those biomechanical issues, because again, you're singular plane, you're in a fixed position for most of it, and that's that's also where a lot of the problems. And like I say, when I talk about injuries, I talk about wrecks. But when you talk about the manifestation of those biomechanical issues, yeah. But the fix is little. So I'm going to go to the end of the talk and then come back to the manifestations of it. You got to do three things, okay? You got to be flexible, you got to have a strong core, and you got to have a bike fit. If you do those three things, most problems that you'll encounter on a bike are going to be fixed. That's it. It's that simple. So, what all can happen? Yes?
Good question. Does that mean that you have to stretch before you ride?
Do what?
For flexibility, do you have to stretch before the ride?
No, you've got to have flexibility in period. You know, everybody wants to, shop ride here. I mean, Steve and I led the shop ride from here Tuesday, Thursday morning, 10 o'clock for years and years and years. Steve quit road bike like cold turkey in 2019, okay? And he comes in and he sees me. He worked in the gym with me at that time, and he was waiting on me Monday morning. He said, "You're the second person I want to know. I'm selling all my road bikes." He sold all but one. And it was like, I mean, he was my sensei. He was my mentor. He took me places on the bike that I had no business going. I got a linebacker's body. And Steve's 6'2", 160, with an engine that's amazing. But he gave it up. And so it's like, okay, it was hard for me. And so I had a little emotional issue with that. And again, the reason I got off the road bike is it's all excuses. But, the flexibility part of it got to come elsewhere. And the best time you can stretch. So anyway, we did this ride. Come here, a bunch of people, Jackie still does that one. Steve and Emil still do the 10 o'clock ride. And everybody meets. Nobody stretches. Hop on your bike and go, which is okay. That's not the place. That's not the time or place to stretch. Your flexibility comes later, okay? And the best time you can exercise is after a fitness activity, whether it's running or biking or anything like that. The best athletic trainer, and part of the reason Pat Summit had a lot of success was a girl named, oh my gosh.
Moshe.
Oh, yeah, Jenny Moshe. Jenny was brilliant, is brilliant. She's a biker. I don't know if she's still riding or not, but last time I saw her was on a bike out Cold Springs somewhere. But if you ever watched the Lady Vols game, they stretched middle of the floor after the game. Always, when Jenny's in charge, because that's when your body, your connective tissue is full of blood, it's warmed up, it is more susceptible to be stretched than at any point at time, period, no exceptions. So that's when you do it. Now I will say, I'll advocate, I'm a little delinquent right now, but I've taken yoga classes for 20 years. And I'm usually the only guy, the oldest person, and by far the worst in the room. I took, when Amanda Myers, if any of you know Amanda's a biker. Amanda did a hot hatha yoga at Yoga Mix. I took hot hatha with Amanda for years, and it's incredible. But the place to get flexibility is not on the bike or before, or you go to a football game and they're out there and they're stretching, they're warming up a little bit. Well, that's all a waste of time. Warm up is good, and when you get on the bike, you don't want to chase Emil as soon as you get on the bike. Those of you that have ever ridden with Emil, you want to pedal easy. You want to take your time. You get warmed up, get your body warmed up, and you'll feel it, and then you get going. So, question. I mean, great. Jackie had said half your time talk, half your time question, but interrupt. It's accepted and expected. So interrupt anytime you have anything I say, and if you disagree, that's fine too. I'm a big fan of, I may be wrong. Again, 48 years of clinical practice, and I think I'm pretty good at it, but I don't know. Maylene and I shared some patients and worked together a bit, and it's like, you get my best effort. but I may be wrong. So if you disagree, it's okay. So anyway, the one thing, and I think, and again, remember, core strength, flexibility, bike fit. Literally, that's your magic three things that you've got. And that takes care of most of what you are going to have problems with. And we'll start at the bottom and work up. So the bike shoe is inherently, it's stiff, it's narrow, it's tight, you want it, you crank it down. I mean, I've got the twisty thing, boa on my shoes, on everything that I wear, and I crank that thing down because that's where you're transmitting your force to the bike, is through your feet. And the plate is real stiff. I mean, you don't want that stiff a plate on anything else that you do. So, you know, that force transmission through your foot is a point of great problem. You know, and again, you get shoes. I don't advocate, I mean, I've got probably 2 or 3 different brands of bike shoes. It has to be your foot. If you want to run what running shoe to get, I can recommend that all the time. I do orthotics a lot, and I send people to get running shoes, and all the time, yeah, our 2 at the bar there got orthotics that I've made. You know, but you can't control the foot nearly as much. I have had some people wear orthotics. It has to be a real slim profile, real narrow cut, custom orthotic on a bicycle, but really that force transmission. And then you're looking at a plate that, you know, maybe the size of a 50-cent piece that's transmitting the force through your foot. So that's why the shoe has to be really stiff. It's got to be a good fit. It's got to be comfortable. If it's not comfortable, then you're going to have problems. And we see a lot of problems with metatarsalgia, you know, the forefoot, midfoot pain that comes with that. You know, the place to fix that's through the shoe, but you can also, you know, the cleat placement. And again, most people just put the cleats where it looks like it's going to fit and go ride. And that's where they start having problems. And that problem starts at foot, but it very quickly translates all the way up. You know, you can have knee, hip, back problems for sure. I know Steve, he fought IT band, and that's another thing. And by the way, there is one exercise, and I know Jackie, and we talked about, you know, simple exercises to do. Anybody knows what pigeon is in yoga? I teach one exercise to treat IT band problems. Pigeon.
Can you show me what that position is?
Why don't you come up and dim it? I'll talk. No, I was going to talk you through it. No. Putting your sternum on the inside of your knee. Okay? That's it. That is, which also happens to be if you ever had anything called piriformis syndrome, it's probably the best exercise for that as well. So I didn't come intending, like I say, but pigeon, you know, so IT band problems are very common. And again, Steve fought IT band problems, and it was part of, he looked at it, he changed his cleat placement. And you're going to think badly of Steve. He's really just an incredible guy, super guy, wonderful to work with. But he's so good, those little biomechanical issues really manifest themselves very profoundly in him physically. And he puts a ton of miles in too now. Yes?
I get hot foot.
Hot foot? Yeah. What socks are you wearing?
The socks I wanted.
Okay, synthetic, okay. So I think that it's not uncommon. It's inherent to bicycle shoes a little bit. You want to find a shoe that's got a little boxier forefront. Again, bicycle shoes have not reached that level. Running shoe technology is. The best shoes anybody can wear are running shoes. When I got out of physical therapy school, you wore dress shoes, dark pants, white coat, tie for guys, or you didn't see patients. Well, it didn't take me long to say, oh, this is ridiculous. And the worst example, I worked the 96 Olympics, and they issued us Adidas shoes that were the worst thing I've ever put on my foot. They weren't running shoes. They were supposed to be a dress shoe type thing. But that technology is not translated well to bicycle shoes yet. You just have to try on a bunch. And if they don't have them here, again, the bike, I'm a loyal customer, refer people out here all the time. If they've not got it here, go look at other bike shops. It's okay. Okay, get what you need. But the shoe will fix that. If you get the right shoe, it should fix it.
Steve helped me with that, and he said before you start trying different shoes to do the smart little sock. And I thought there was no way it's going to be that simple, and it made all the difference.
Well,
and
and
I have never biked in anything else since we had that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, that was what I was using for my first question, what socks you wearing? I mean, they've got to be synthetic, and there are still people wearing cotton socks to bike in, and oh my gosh, that's terrible. The friction forces, so yeah, socks mean a lot.
Well, I'm actually trying to not slip into it.
Really?
And it's helped a lot.
Yeah. And I get that, because, but the thing of it is, and you don't have to be competitive, but everybody strives usually to be the best that they can be, or you want to keep up with Maylin today, okay?
Not really.
But, so you want every little bit of technical advantage, and a cleated shoe gives you a mechanical advantage, because I can remember early in my biking career, it was like, you bike in O's. You don't do this. I was a masher. You don't do a parabola with your ring. You want constant pressure all around. You can't do that without a cleat. You know, I was told I had a wreck on ACDC at Baker's Creek and couldn't get out and broke a bike. Didn't hurt me too bad. And I was told, you need to go to flats.
No.
Well, I'll not argue with Caroline. I don't know what Caroline will tell me, but I've got to have my clips. The efficiency, yeah. So I didn't go to, I bought flats. My shins were bloody for 6 months, and I finally said no. So again, that efficiency, and everybody's better than me. Again, I'm a linebacker. I've not got the body for it, and so you got to.
I haven't noticed any difference.
Yeah.
I rode with clips for many, many years.
Did you?
I'm comfortable with clips, but that hot foot is like your foot is on fire.
Yeah.
Have you tried men's shoes?
I would talk to Eddie. I would look at shoes. I mean, again, it's not an uncommon problem. Yeah. But it is an issue.
I have to wear men's shoes because I have bunions and most of it just won't fit into women's little narrow shoes. So,
Yeah. You know, it's the same. I have put a few people in orthotics for biking shoes, which has helped a little, but it has to be such a slim profile, and they're just not made. I mean, gymnasts and soccer players, same thing. I can't make orthotics. Gymnasts are impossible. Soccer players, their shoe is such a tight shoe, such a low profile, and such a narrow profile. It's hard. But I have done some of those. Hot foot, not so much. More midfoot pain is if nothing else works, then it's almost sort of a last resort, because I'll make them, but it's like, well, maybe it'll work. I don't know. It's worth a try. Part of the reason I do orthotics is because of athletes.
you'll make an appointment with Daddy.
I'm sorry.
Make an appointment with Daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving on up the chain, the kinetic chain, and like I say, everything's linked. The hip problems, again, the piriformis, but the solution is there, flexibility. Make sure your flexibility is there. You generally don't have hip pain. So flexibility is going to take care of most hip pain. You move on up to the back, low back. Well, you think, everybody that doesn't know biking, they think, well, you spend all this time in this, why is your back not hurt? Well, if you bike much, you got a good core. We'll move to the hand in a minute, because that's another issue problem. But if your core is strong, If your core's strong, it's not going to be. You're going to fix it with core and your fit, and that seat position, anterior to posterior, and the tilt will take care of that. And then there's also pelvic floor issues, and I will tell you that pelvic floor issues. Obviously, it's one of those things. We have a big pelvic health division at Blount Memorial. Some really great people that are doing pelvic health physical therapy has just exploded in the last 10 years. It's a very important part. And it started and is still primarily for females. But I've sent a lot of males, and male bikers in general have pudendal nerve issues. But again, it's all about the fit. The physique seat works for me. I don't have those issues. The spin bike, I got on the spin bike, I guess, at the office yesterday, and somebody came by, and it's a bicycle seat and everything. I have no idea how you sit on this. Well, this lady's hips are about like this, and no, she wouldn't fit on that seat, and because there's too much pressure. Again, I'm not being prejudiced at all, but there's just too much pressure on that. But you do get used to it, and part of the thing that I think you have to do, you have to have seat time. Your bikers talk about seat time. You have to have seat time, because you do, you adjust to that seat, okay? If you don't, and you have constant pressure and compression on that pudendal nerve, it will actually demyelinate, and you'll have chronic pudendal nerve problems. And it manifests itself differently in different people, but pelvic floor numbness in males, it can actually remain, it can really have a problem with erections. So you start talking about male riders about pudendal nerve problems, and they'll say, yeah, I'm having some ED problems now. And so they come to me because I'm the only person who they know that does biking and all that. And again, it's the seat and the fit. You take care of those things, and those problems take care of themselves. Shoulder issues, I see them all the time. I see them with bikers. I should have brought a piece of TheraBand. Stretchy, everybody's seen the TheraBand, the stretchy bands? Everybody, and now I'll extrapolate to the whole world. I see shoulder problems every day, all day, every day. Our world is so much in front of us. We do this. I do this way too many. Documentation in healthcare is halt. Those in healthcare are like, oh my gosh, yeah. So I spend way too much time at the computer. Everybody does. And so they do this. And we see big postural issues. Well, the solution is you got to strengthen those muscles that pull the scapula back. You got to work on scapular retraction. If I could give everybody in the world a piece of therapy band or rubber tubing or something and say do scapular retraction, and when you do it, don't just pull your arms back, but do that and also pull your shoulder blades together. It would solve most of the problem. I would guarantee you, I wouldn't be out of business, but I would cut down on half the shoulders that I see if people did that on a regular basis. But it's a big problem with a biker, because we do this, okay? Or you do this and it's still here. On a mountain bike, road bike, you're in the hoods or you're down, and so you're always here. So you have got to work on that scapular retraction. And that's, weight room. You've got to pull back. You've got to pull, you pull. I don't do bench press. I don't advocate for doing a bench press. I'll do push-ups because I get a lot of core out of push-ups, but I don't bench press, there's no place for it. It's a waste of time, waste of exercise. Okay? I will do bench press every day. I know. We get people in the gym. So the clinic where I work, we built that building in 2003, and it's half gym, half rehab. And my desk is literally the countertop between the gym and the rehab side, facing into the gym. I'm the only one in our practice that faces the gym, because I want to go, and I'll go out there and speak very boldly. Everybody comes in, and teenage sophomore boys are the worst in the world. Sharon Wood and I did a study years ago about sophomore football players. We just kept data on local guys, and sophomore boys, so they finally mature physically. They got enough muscle build, and what are your C muscles? Biceps and pecs, and so they bench press all the time, and then underneath their bed's a dumbbell, and they're doing the curls like this, and they show up like this. And if they play football, the first thing they do is they're not real good techniques, and they arm tackle, and next thing you know, we've torn a rotator cuff. Happened. We had 26, the year that Sharon and I did that study, we had 26 torn rotator cuffs. They were all among sophomore boys in this county, and we're almost all, that was the mechanism. It happens to you guys, okay, because you're here. So you've got to do that. You've got to open up. You've got to stretch back, and then you have to strengthen in the back. I don't care what you do here, okay? I work out regularly, so my muscles are okay, but it's not, I'm not going to do that. I've not been under a bench press in decades. Moving on down the arm, there are several different problems. The stem length is going to precipitate a lot of those. The canal guyon, which is right here at the pisiform, those of you that are anatomy trained, you can get ulnar nerve entrapment right there. You're not resting on that, okay? Nobody really does, but just that stretch and that pressure there, and then, I mean, the best of roads are not glassy smooth, so that vibration and everything will irritate that. Again, I don't think there is an ideal stem length to fix that. I know some people will say, I can't do the drops because of that, so they'll use a straight bar on a road bike or even a green belt bike or a hybrid bike. But that's the issue is, the angle of your hoods and the position. You get different bar widths, so it's a combination of things. And we tend to put what's the normal width of handlebars on most of the bikes that go out here. Ernie can answer that question. He's busy. So that, but most of the bikes, what's the normal width for most of the bikes that go out here on the handlebars? Yeah. Road bikes.
Most bikes come with, like, smaller sizes might have a 40, most of them are 42, and larger sizes like 44, and any almost always with this one down the narrow.
Yeah. So there's
Especially the smaller sizes, it always has to be anywhere in 36 and 30.
yeah. There's a narrow range there, and that's a crucial factor. But again, it goes back to bike fit. But most of the bikes you buy off the shelf, which are great, are going to have a predetermined width, and it's again small, medium, large, and they might change some. It might not work for you. You might do better with more narrow. You might do better with wide. So again, I'm going to ask Eddie Sloan for a tariff or something. He can pay me for everything he gets out of this class. But again, it's true, and it is. I mean, as a fellow named Eric Moon, who's one of the best, he's a physical therapist, one of the top bike fitters in the world out of Oregon, and Eric will tell you the same thing. It solves most of the injuries, most of the physical manifestations of being on the bike. And then there's your neck. And I will tell you, as I've gotten older, and that's one of the problems with aging, you lose cervical range of motion, but you can work on it. You can help yourself by working on cervical motion. You can assist it. You can turn. I mean, old people get in car wrecks because they don't see the car coming because they can't turn their head, or they turn their whole body. Well, you know what happens on a bike when you look or you turn your body? Bike's going that way. We do single track, and you better be looking at. I tell people I guide all the time. You got to look where you're going. Don't look down the hill because you're going down the hill. Well, old people in cars do the same thing. They do this and they come on in the oncoming traffic. There's been tons of deaths that have occurred from that. But you can help with that, okay? But it's part of the reason I advocate for yoga participation. I think yoga classes do better than watching a video and doing it because your yoga instructor will tell you what you're doing wrong. Amanda Myers was awesome. Amanda Hatcher owns Yoga Mix. She's awesome. and she tolerates the old guy in the room who's stiffer than most. And you notice I haven't really talked about hamstring flexibility because on a bicycle, it's not an issue. Okay? You are in a flex position. Okay? Hamstring flexibility is really not that crucial, in my opinion, on a bicycle. But your neck is. And we lose some extension. And you know, again, if you're down in the drops, then you've got your head up. You've got to be able to come to extension, so you can work on that. You can do some stretches, some assisted stretches on. Same thing with rotation, both directions. Flexion we don't have a problem with because we live in a flex world. I have a grandson, 13-year-old grandson. We went on vacation with him a couple weeks ago, and I did this with him. Okay? Because that's what we do. But now, you know, and it's funny because he's 13 and he is screen obsessed. But a lot of times I'll get someone, I do some private work, a lot of work with TMJ. For a lot of reasons, I'm sort of like the PT TMJ expert, which is all postural. And so I'll say, okay, you work at a desk, and I want you to go back and I want you to I want you to sit at your desk like you usually do, and then I want somebody to take pictures from you, and they'll text it to me, and I'll say, here's the problem. You know, usually it's your screen. I know it has nothing to do with the bike, but usually it's the screen's too low, so we're always down. So we don't have a problem with flexion. We do have a problem with extension. So you do need to work on extension. Make sure I made notes. I do think about these things. Yeah, well, in carpal tunnel, I have carpal tunnel. Bikers are going to have carpal tunnel. Self-stretch on that is huge. I mean, the carpal tunnels, the little tunnel where the median nerve goes right through there. If these three fingers are numb, you have carpal tunnel. Period. No exception. Usually, now that's innervated by the median nerve, but if those three fingers, it's not cervical radiculopathy, it's not coming out of your neck, it's carpal tunnel. And you might have to end up in surgery, but you can also self-manipulate that. There's a transverse ligament across there where the median nerve goes through it. You can work on that. But it's not something you can do once or twice and fix. It's something, it has to be part of your routine every day, every week, not every day. You don't have to do everything every day. But it has to be 2 or 3 times a week. You need to take the time to do that. So now I've given you an outline where you got 3 to 4 hours of stretching and flexibility and strengthening and bike time and all that. So everybody needs to get retired and just ride bikes, which Maylin did and I didn't. So
Going back a little bit to the weak bones,
the bone density.
yeah, do you recommend heavy lifting? Are you familiar with the research on heavy lifting, lifting heavy weights?
You know, I'll answer it 2 ways. Not really. I think that most of what you do, 10 reps on any lift, you should be able to do 10 reps and do 10 reps with good technique. And what happens so often is you do 8 and 9 and 10 fall apart. Well, you've got too much weight. It's why working with a personal trainer is good but not necessary, but it's also why it's important to work out with somebody. Number one is the accountability issue. You're going to work out more often if you've got a partner. And I've been working out with the same guy for 20 years. And you hold each other accountable. But they also watching it. And I'm more likely to do that. I'm personally probably okay with working out because I'm always watching. And when your technique starts to fall, and you need to have good technique on whatever lift that you do. But again, 10 reps, you ought to be able to do 10 good reps or you got probably too much weight. I rarely do anything else, and I rarely advocate for anything else other than that. And I'm not reluctant at all to call people out that are over there. A guy that I worked out with several years, and he retired, and our schedules changed, and I went over and I'm looking, and he's doing a deadlift, which is okay with good technique. and he's doing a lift like this, and he's curling his back up, and I go over there and he's got 245s, 225s, so he's got 185 pounds doing a deadlift, which is not that much, but it's too much for him. And I'm like, I can do it, and I can do it 2 or 3 times, but why? And people who weight lift, strength train long term, they're like, well, I'm not getting any better. I'm not lifting any heavier than I did a year ago. I have no problem with that. Okay? So Steve was our gym director for many years. I hired him to work at Cherokee's gym. And Steve brought the first CrossFit gym to the region. Everybody here's CrossFit. So we had the first CrossFit gym across the hill here. And at first CrossFit was very injury prone. The instructors go to a 2-day course and they come back and they teach lifting. And it takes more than that to learn. So initially we had a lot of injuries out of it. And orthopedic surgeons particularly thought CrossFit was just like terrible. Then the emphasis became on technique, and it got better. And for many years, it was a great way to do exercise. But CrossFit is only a sexy name for high intensity interval training, which my first degree was actually physics and physical education, by the way, which is a really weird undergraduate degree. They all thought I was crazy. But back then we were talking about high intensity interval training, and that's what CrossFit is. And that's what works. It's very efficient. I lead a noon class among friends and family where we do that, and we do a high intensity interval training. Don't call it CrossFit. And our gym still has CrossFit classes, but CrossFit's dying. CrossFit Games. So everybody got into the competition. My point being, everybody wants to lift more. And how much can you do single rep? I don't think anybody needs to do single rep max. The strength coaches at the high schools and colleges that I work with say, we have no reason to see how much you can do one repetition, ever. But they're wanting to do more weight. And I'm saying, I do reps with deadlifts with 95 pounds. Okay? And I'm fit, fairly strong, 215 pounds, and should be doing more, but why? Okay? I want my core strong.
So you can brag. So you can brag about it. Yeah.
Well, that's what the sophomore boys do.
Yeah.
How much? What does one male high school females aren't as bad? I'll tell you that. What does one high school male athlete ask another? How much can you bench?
Yeah.
I don't care how much you can bench. I don't care how much.
A bit.
Do what? Yeah. Great. If you're getting, so then, well, we've got to do, you've got to get your heart rate up. One of the problems with walking at work, your heart rate doesn't go up at work. Your heart rate goes up on the bicycle. And getting your heart rate up to where you're breathing a little heavier, starting to sweat a little bit, and sustaining it there is how you preserve your heart. That and eating right.
But density for weight training, bone density, is 5 to 7 miles a day walking and
It's good for bone density. Yes, it is good for bone density.
Or just work.
Yes. You're probably getting from, I get it. From a bone density standpoint, you're probably great. You're 5 to 7 miles at work.
Anything extra outside of work?
I would, if you're not strength training, you still need to strength train.
So there are like 3 strength training exercises that I would consider, aside from even just 5 to 7 miles.
What exercises should you do?
No walking or biking.
So here's the big plus about CrossFit high intensity. CrossFit in general, because you're doing something different. I mean, that's why I designed the program 3 days a week for my gang. And I say, what have we not done? And probably you're sort of always sore. You almost always have an exercise soreness. Because, I mean, we might do deadlift once a month. And so deadlift's gonna make you sore every time. I love Swiss ball passovers. Get it between your feet, pass it over your head, pass it back down. We do it maybe once a month. So it's always something different. And that's keeps you from building a bad muscle memory. Oh yeah, it's too routine, it gets too easy. Well, we don't want it easy. It should never be easy. When I try to do, yeah. So you want to do different things all the time. And if I'll ask people to make a list of 100 things that you want to do in a gym and just pick and choose. I don't do anything that's isolated. I mean, I've not picked up a dumbbell and just done a curl like that in decades, okay? But what I will do is a chainsaw, okay? Come from here up to here, all right? So you're getting trunk rotation, you're getting scapular retraction, and you're getting elbow flexion. So you want to do multiple joint parts. So whenever you do isolated, now in rehab we'll do isolate because we got to pick out damaged muscles, weak areas.
So exercise fans don't do it,
No. They're useful.
Body weight won't work either.
Well,
Body weight.
body weight exercises are part of it. We use a lot of kettlebells. I use a lot of medicine balls. I mean, gosh, one of the best things a biker can do is take a medicine ball, throw it in the air, let it drop, pick it up, throw it again. You get all that extension and you get your whole body doing it.
So anything that's not propping you up, so leaning against something and then that's not getting the core that you need to get.
You've been in the gym, they've got a room full of machines. They're not used very much. We don't use them, but we'll use them sometimes in rehab when we need to isolate a joint. But most of the time, go to the gym's machines and everything else. And we encourage everybody to spend more time on everything else.
Or at least not to lean on those things, right? So if you're doing something where
Oh, yeah.
yeah, just don't lean on the back, just kind of try to
Yeah,
hold your
because you've got to stabilize from here when you do that. Oh yeah, if you're doing anything upper body, yeah, you don't want to be settled into a comfortable chair.
Running's okay for both ends.
What is?
Running is
Oh yeah,
good.
absolutely. Yeah, they're the compressive forces that come from running. That's where you get it.
So for your hips, because with the knee replacement, of course, I'm gonna have a problem
Yeah.
on my opposite side. Bridges and legs,
Plank,
plank.
modified plank on your elbows, side plank. No, there really aren't many better exercises in the world than those two things for everything. Yeah, we do a lot of V-ups. Yeah, so
So where can we go to find good examples of these exercises? Because when I go to the gym, you know where I go, there's not like mirrors, which for me is sort of a good thing, but a bad thing. Like I don't want to see myself, but I do need to see if I'm doing more and more right.
Can you just display it?
so that gym doesn't have mirrors because I built that gym.
Yes.
And I built it, and at that time, Goals was over here in Midland, and it had mirrors on the whole. Everything was mirrors, and you get these guys, mostly, they're sitting there and they're watching that biceps pump up, and they're loving it and all that. There are no only mirrors we have in the place are in the bathroom, so locker room. You need a partner. You need somebody. It doesn't have to be. You can just say, "Hey, listen, I know my back should be straight," like doing a modified plank. I've done it enough. I can feel when I'm straight, but that's not easy. And I will not mention his name, but I've got him. He was one of my undergraduate buddies, and I've got him. He's in my noon group, and we stayed friends for all these years. And I mean, he does his plank like this. He's getting better, but anybody can tell him when he's straight. Okay, anybody can tell you when you're not pinching your shoulder blades together. If you're doing something like a rowing machine or the cable column thing where you're pulling, anybody can look at you and see that you're just moving your arms instead of moving your arms and retracting your scapula. It doesn't have to be someone with an exercise science degree. And don't.
Somebody that knows what it looks like.
Yeah.
To be correct.
Yeah. So no mirrors, but a partner. And there's mirrors in the one wall of the yoga studio I go to is mirrors, but I'm like, ooh. I'm so bad. But I want the teacher. They're just every yoga teacher I've ever had. I've had several. They'll come, and
Correct you.
I've only had one who wasn't real patient with the oldest guy in the room.
Sorry, I have another question.
That's okay.
You hear this all the time. You reach a certain age as a woman, and your upper body strength sucks. What are some things that we can do to improve our upper body strength that's not stationary? Other than throwing a ball up
I love the medicine ball stuff. You know, ball slams, ball tosses, wall balls. I love that because it's a lot of upper body, but it also engages your trunk. Hang cleans, power cleans and hang cleans. Probably, if I had to add anything to your regime, given that question, you know, power cleans, you're coming from here to here. Hang cleans are probably a little bit better unless your technique's real good, because you're just going from here to here. And I'm watching right now. We had. I get to be judgmental. When you get my age, you get to be judgmental, maybe a little bit. But with one of our CrossFit classes, and they've got 50, 60-year-old women doing floor snatches. Okay? And I'm like, so one of the other therapists and I looked at that class, and there were 14 people in that class one day, and 12 of them had been patients. And the instructor's good and dedicated and tries to understand, but she went to a weekend course to be a CrossFit instructor.
Joe, a lot of the exercises that you're describing to strengthen your back, to strengthen your core, a lot of that comes from yoga classes.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Inverted, to strengthen your arms.
Oh.
A lot of that comes from yoga.
You maintain that posture.
Well, and the forearm planks, dolphin, the full planks, side planks, all of that. You know, and then if you go to a class, then you have the instructor there, and you can see other people doing that. So, you know, you get that exposure, and that, I mean, it's helped me a lot.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of it's like on a bicycle. A lot of the things that you need are little tweaks. You don't need wholesale changes. Shoulders, yes. That's the shoulder I see all the time. I worked half a day today and I saw 3 shoulder patients. See, all the shoulders, knees, ankles, feet. And it's like, we've got to get you back. And 2 of the 3 were post-ops. And that's probably why they had the surgery. Because you're sitting here, if your shoulders are interned, you're sitting there rubbing on the rotator cuff, and sooner or later you're going to rub a hole in it. It's going to happen.
So is that true for knees too?
Knees,
If you have knee trouble, or you're supposed to walk and increase your bone density, or you're hurting your knees more than you're helping your body?
the knee's a lot more magical. When I first got into this stuff, we used to say, oh, it's the worst constructed. God did not know what he was doing when he built a knee. But I actually disagree with that. I think that the knee is an amazing structure. And I had a knee replacement 5.5 years ago and can do anything. I mean, we were talking earlier, my wife and I, we have our 50th wedding anniversary tomorrow. It is a testimony to her tolerance, I will tell you that. But we went to Machu Picchu in April and hiked Rainbow Mountain. If you've been to Peru, we hiked at 16,000 feet. She kicked my butt. We hiked to Machu Picchu Mountain, which is above the Citadel, 14,000 feet. She kicked my butt again. But I can do that stuff. And I'm 73, okay? I'm ancient. And I'm still working, by the way. Catherine knows that. Maylynn's smarter than I am. She retired, but and I still work. I haven't figured it out yet. But again, I can do what I want to do, and it's not that I'm better than anybody else. I'm not more athletic. I'm not but I am more persistent than just about everyone. And the bike rewards persistence. You get the mileage on the bike, you're going to get better.
So I'm concerned that if I do things to increase bone density and I have arthritis, that I'm going to be hurting myself more than helping myself.
Okay.
So what's the balance?
Well, you need to do the repetitions. You don't need the heavy weights. You need to have great technique, always. And you don't need to overload the joints with heavy weights. And their question about heavy weights, again, when you're 73, you get to judge a little bit. I'm like, ooh, she was a little older to be asking about heavy weights, because I don't do heavy weights. You work out with me, you said, he's been weightlifting his entire life. I was a high school, college athlete, and used to be bigger than I am now, and I don't lift heavy weights. Again, why? Again, Robin said it, so I can brag. Oh, I benched 350 today. I don't care. You can say it, lie. Just lie. Yeah.
How about the difference between men's and women's bodies? Like
That was what I addressed in I did in our conference. It was the difference. What's the same and what's different? So I'll give you the 2-minute version of a 30-minute talk on that. Women have a wider pelvis than males, evolutionary, as part of reproduction. You have to have birth canal, you have to have wider pelvis to do that, which also means that you have a sharper angle at the knee. You have what we call a Q angle. So that the wider pelvis means that the femur is wider, and that's why girls have more patellofemoral dysfunction. And also, part of the reason they have more ACL injuries. Women actually, per body kilogram, have a better VO2 max. That's why you see some ultra endurance athletes that are females that can keep up with any male. That happens on a regular basis. Muscle mass, females do not produce testosterone, so you're not going to have the muscle development. I've had, and part of the reason young girls in years past have been reluctant to lift weights, now I don't want to get all muscle bound. You don't have enough testosterone in your body to get muscle hypertrophy. Muscle hypertrophy is in some part dependent on levels of testosterone. That's why men get old and flabby, because as men age, their testosterone levels go. And they get old and flabby because, again, that's part of it. The thing, and this has nothing to do with this, and that's nothing to do with pretty much anybody in the room. Women have, particularly young females have a narrow. So if you look at the femur, front to back, this bone, it's sort of V-shaped, but on women, it's actually sort of narrow. So instead of being sort of roughly that shape, it's almost like an omega. Okay, and I'm part of a big international research group, and this, again, sidebar totally, but it's probably the reason females have 9 to 1 more ACL. Females have 9 to 1 more ACL tears than males. Probably that intercondylar notch. So what's our solution? Do you operate on a healthy knee and widen the intercondylar? If they do the surgery, if you have ACL reconstruction, they widen the notch. Period. It's called a notch plasty. They do it on. If it's narrow, they widen it. So you're going to take a healthy knee to prevent ACL tears and widen the notch prophylactically. Number one, nobody's going to operate on a healthy knee. Number two, health insurance is not going to pay for it, so you're not going to get it done. But it's a factor. So the big differences are those. Biomechanically, there's not big differences. Hormonally, there's an issue. That was the other thing, part of the talk that I gave. So a female, 3 days before the onset of menstrual cycle, when your period starts, for the 3 days before that, you're getting some hormones dumped into your system, which makes you more susceptible to injury. Okay, this is a sidebar. I've got a friend, Amy Arundel, who works in the NBA, who PhD is in this stuff. And then 3 days afterwards, same thing. So do we take our athletes and 3 days before the period starts, we don't let them practice or play, and then 3 days after the period stops, do we not let them practice or play? No, it's not practical. Okay, can't do that. Nobody's going to do that anyway. Just like nobody's going to operate on a healthy knee. What you do though, and there's a ton of data that's coming out, and like I say, Amy and another fellow at Marshall, Tim Hewitt's a buddy of mine, they're at the forefront of a lot of this research, and a lot of it's coming out of the University of Delaware, is that you got to pay attention to nutrition, and you've got to have rest. Most pro athletes have Oura rings or something similar to test their sleep quality. So we tell coaches, and I told the coaches Friday, I says, make sure your female athletes get plenty of sleep, and emphasizing, and men who coach girls have got to do this. It's not comfortable for some men. Obviously, I can talk about it. But you've got to be able to talk about their period. And those 3 days, you hammer, and everybody's, you've got a team of girls that are different times. You've got to hammer it. You've got to have good nutrition. You've got to be eating lean meats, vegetables, and fruits. You cannot be eating burger and fries, especially though in that period. So the nutritional aspect of that, we don't understand exactly the mechanism, but that's important.
That sucks.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
People look at us and do that.
Yeah, I know. You go.
I know.
You got vegetables and fruit and everything back here. So, but that I point that out because then you ask the difference between men and women. That's a lot of it. Kneecap problems. It happens. We work on it. And my prejudices. I said earlier, I've got very few prejudices, but not allowing our young girls to participate in sports. My daughter she's going to play. It was more important for him to play sports than my son, because that's developmentally she's at more risk. And so she wasn't. She was a college athlete, and she never had a serious injury. And she was a good athlete, did well. My son, same thing. But I also have both of them were in orthotics from the time they were junior high age on. They're big pronators. If you're a pronator and you run, come see me. We got to fix that. It has a little bit to do with hip external rotation strength, but it's just as important to make sure to know how your foot's hitting the ground whenever you run.
That's a good point. It raises a question for me. What does it mean to exercises that open your hips as a cyclist? Like, what is that? Why is that important?
It's so you really, we lose that. And you've seen girls. I've got one of my granddaughters that is a soccer goalkeeper, and they walk with their hips internally rotated. I watch Gabe. We went to the beach a couple weeks ago, and I'm watching. Oh, he needs a new hip. Okay, and I've actually even been known to go up and talk to him. I got a soccer referee one time. I say, "When are you going to get a new knee?" "Oh, I don't have, my knee's fine." I said, "No, it's not. I've watched you run up and down the pitch. It's not fine." So they will lack external rotation motion and strength. So I'll put every girl with a patellofemoral dysfunction with me. If you got a physical therapist, and girls have 13, 14, 15-year-old girls have kneecap problems, period. Their pelvis is getting wider, their body's changing, they have kneecap problems, period. I got a 15-year-old granddaughter. And we used to teach them straight leg raise. 200 straight leg raises a day. Well, I haven't taught straight leg raise in 20 years because that's not the problem. Okay, the problem is that hip external rotation, exactly to your question, range of motion, and strength. So we work on hip external rotation strength, and that's how I treat kneecap problems. That and if they're pronators, I put them in at least some kind of arch.
How do you do that? There's fire hydrant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, You can Google that one up.
All right.
Work on hip external rotation and range of motion. I mean, again, you just walking. I'll teach. We'll do what we call monster walk. Where you're doing that, and you're working on both. We'll put bands around their ankles to do that. And so they're getting that external rotation, range of motion, and strength. Yeah.
And what would that impact other than your hips? Is that going to help with the knee?
It helps your knee for sure. I mean, I'll do it for the knee. I'll get somebody in, come in, and I've got most of the doctors around here trained by now, and they're like, he didn't show you quad sets, straight leg raises. I said, nope, don't even go there. It's all the hip and the foot. I did a talk, it was in San Diego, and there were like 700 people in this room, and this guy, Jason Richardson, and we had this talk, and it was called butt bias versus foot bias for treating patellofemoral dysfunction. And I took the foot bias, and he took the butt bias, and what we did, we started out like we were mad at each other and arguing back and forth, and then we finally concluded, we're both right. You treat the foot, you treat the hip, there's nothing you can do about patellofemoral dysfunction with those kind of, and again, and that was physical therapy for most of my career. And there's still some, if I see physical therapists in our office doing straight leg raises, it's like, oh, please don't. What are you doing it for? If you're doing it for hip flexion strength, sure. If you're doing it for knee problems, particularly kneecap problems, you're doing it all wrong.
Any other questions for Joe?
It's your grand opportunity. Like I say, I don't know everything. I'm easy to find. Now I want everybody to go back and look at, and thedailytimes.com or my page on Facebook. Again, I don't do anything else on Facebook except post. Well, I post my column. It comes out on Saturday morning in the paper. It's in there. But my email address, I'm easy to find. I give out my cell phone all the time. If you want a cell phone, you can have it. But my email address, Joe Black, DPT, Doctor of Physical Therapy. Yes, I didn't introduce myself as a doctor. I have a doctorate in this stuff. But it's Joe Black, DPT. If you don't know how to spell Joe Black, we do need to talk. I've been asked twice, Joe Black, how do you spell that? And I said, no. Joe Black, DPT at Gmail. Let me know. If you have questions, get in touch with me. And again, my cell phone's out there. Anybody wants to talk, I'll be glad to give you my 2 cents, and sometimes that's all it's worth.
Thank you, Joe. All right, excellent. Thank you so much, Joe. We really appreciate your time, and I think that was extremely educational, I know for me, and I hope for many of you. And so in follow-up to this, we've actually got 2 things. It's sort of evolved as 2 things into 3 things. But Tricia Pelding is going to lead us in some exercises to work on some of these things at a time that works best for most of us that are here, right? So there's no need for us to schedule a random time. So Tricia and I would like to know whether it's next Thursday or the Thursday after, I believe.
I think it's the first Thursday in July.
And the first Thursday in July. So either this in 7 days, or the first Thursday in July. I'm sorry, what? July 2nd. So, yeah, because we're skipping pint night. So we can't use this space, obviously, for pint night. That would be very interesting.
Yeah.
But, and maybe people would join us, right, with their beers, doing some workouts. But, so, first of all, how many of you are interested in doing a follow-up piece, doing actual strength training exercises with somebody that can double check on your moves and stuff? Okay, so most everybody in here. Okay, so would it be best if I just sent out a poll in an email to say this date or that date? Okay, all right, so I'll do that tomorrow, which is Friday, and then we'll settle on one of the 2 dates. The third one is a clinic by Lisa Wright. She's our nutritionist.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. She was going to be here tonight. I'm not I don't see her, so I'm not sure why she's not here. She RSVP'd. But she's going to talk about nutrition in terms of the things we've talked about today. So bone density, strength training, muscle, of course we don't all know about hydration and nutrition on the bike, so she's going to touch on that. But we've talked about that for the last several years. So she's going to take that to the next step and talk about specific issues for us. So, anyways, anybody have any other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Make sure you grab a snack. So I appreciate your time, and we'll see you. So we've got two things coming up, right? We've got a Saturday ride from Big Spring. Hickory Valley. I get the two mixed up all the time. Hickory Valley, not Big Spring. Hickory Valley, which the weather looks great for that. Sunday is supposed to be a clinic on pack and pace line riding. The weather looks, although I thought this year we would do it from Bethlehem Methodist Church and go from there. There's a great stretch on Elajoy. There's like 5 Elajoys, but the Elajoy close to there, it's just a straight stretch. And it's not like Townsend with the traffic and stuff. So we can practice out and back as much as we want. And then those who want to just go back to the church can, and those who want to add on can through Cold Springs with some hills and get in a little bit of a ride. So please RSVP, and if the weather doesn't cooperate, at least I'll know how many are interested, and then whether we should reschedule it, which I'm sure we will. So, any questions? Okay, it's a good weather, right? Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a great evening. No, love you too.
Okay, I was prepared for that. I think we call it closer to this.
Oh, no.
Fresh in their mind.
Believe some of that probably.
Sure.
He's the most